Here he comes.
My body moved.
I don't have a class. I think oh, you can't laugh.
All right, everybody. We're just going to start. The panel is coming together here. But, my name is Stefan. My daughter, Anna, and my daughter is Wilma already. She's 7 years old with Anna, TPM2. This is the adult panel, which I will be moderating. And I think we'll start with some introduction of you guys, so we'll get to know you. And anyone want to start? Shall we start with Justin here, or shall we start with Anna? And you'll decide. We'll go furthest with Anna.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Anna Holgren. I'm from Sweden. I'm 45 years old. As Anna said, our daughter has TPM2 and certain rights, so she's inherited from it. Yeah, that's really in short sentences.
Hi, my name is Lydia. I'm from Barcelona, Spain, and I'm 34 years old. Well, I was diagnosed, I'm sorry for my English, when I was 3 months old. And after pretty rough years, I improved a lot, and well, here I am, in the other side of the world.
Hi, my name is Ray Santiago. I'm 37 years old, and I was diagnosed in the early 80s when I was like 3 or 4 years old. And my father also had dental myopathy. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Go Cavs. And been living out in the tri-state area on the East Coast since 2005. I spent like 10 years in Jersey City, and now in the last year and a half I've been living in Brooklyn with my wife and 2 kids, 2 boys.
My name is Cheryl Podolsky. I'm from New York, Brooklyn originally, and in Long Island. Going to be 56 in a couple of weeks, and I was only diagnosed by genetic testing 7 months ago, in December.
My name is Justin Brenner. I'm from Canada, New Brunswick. I don't know if you guys have heard of that place before. I'm 26. I was diagnosed at birth.
All right, thank you very much. So now I have some questions which were out on Facebook for sort of getting to know what was interesting, and then came up with some questions. And at the end, of course, there's open for general questions in the room as well. But let's start with the first question on it is, how has Denim affected your life? Should we go from the far end again?
I had a muscle disease from birth. The way MM has affected my life is that I was wrongly diagnosed for 30 years. First, they thought I had SMA for 25 years, and then I had an accident, so actually I died, and my English is not too good either, but My heart stopped working and my lungs collapsed. So when they put me back to life, I went to rehab center to get better. And then they realized that if I could start walking again, as I did, I couldn't have SMA, so I did another biopsy, and then they found out that I had some kind of MM. And then several years later, I was in a study, and then they also found out that I had which gene I had, and it was TPM2. And the way MM affected me, it's not that my muscles have become so much weaker, but my lungs has. I have really issues with breathing today. I am so glad my doctor is not here because he will pull my ear when he sees me not wearing my mask, because I should be on the vent 24/7 actually to have a better life. So I don't think it's so fun to have a nasal mask on all the time, and it's not so sexy either. So I really skip that part, but I make a choice then. It makes me tired during the day, and then I have to do a rest instead. So MM has the most things that it has affected my life is that it made my lungs weaker. But at the same time, it's not just giving me bad stuff in life. I met my daughter's father many years ago because we were both working at the camp for disabled children. And I don't think if I had some kind of disability myself, I don't think I would have been working at that camp. And then I would have met that man, and we would have had Wilma today. So for me, Anna is not just a bad thing. There are so many good things. I wouldn't be here today. I probably wouldn't be in WhitePlains if I didn't have Anna. I mean, why go to WhitePlains where you go to Manhattan if you're Sweden and want to go to vacation? So there's a lot of good stuff. As they say, the coin always has two sides. I try to look upon the good stuff in life, the things I can do and not the things I can't do.
Thank you.
Well, obviously, NM has affected my life because although I went to a normal school, that I think that this was really important for me and for the other pupils, because when you go to a normal school, you get into the social life and then know how to treat you. That is just a normal person. But sometimes it's hard to be out there because people doesn't know you, how to treat you, and this makes things very difficult for us. Also, as I told you, the first 3 years were really rough, but as I don't remember them, my memories are pretty good. And my parents were great. They always made me feel like I could do everything. And then because I'm very stubborn, and with my group of friends who I had from school, I have a normal life. I'm working, I'm driving, and last year I moved out from my parents, so I'm living on my own. Very challenging, all the house-keeping stuff, but I'm managing. And I've never been in contact with other parents before today, I would say. And NM was never like that stuff. Just nobody knows about it. So I had a disability, a normal disability. And well, now I'm trying to like process all the information, and I want to feel part of the group. And it's my moment to give back all I've been given, you know, and I'm very happy to be here.
And then for me, going back from my childhood, I just remember not being able to keep up with the rest of the kids when it was anything physical. For instance, just like racing or riding a bike or sports. And being a kid, I don't remember being really self-conscious of my condition because I would just push myself to the furthest limit of just trying to keep up with the other kids. But I do remember struggling, falling a lot and just always being behind and just being stronger and faster. As I got older, I deviated away from physical activities because of that reason, because I became more self-aware, more conscious. So I just remember, giving up on doing things like basketball and softball and things like that because of my my condition and not being able to keep up with others. One thing though that I did I deviated from those activities. I became really involved in music and percussion. I'm a percussionist. I played like hand drums, Afro-Caribbean drums, Puerto Rico and congas and bongos and stuff. And I primarily got into that because my father, who was also afflicted with NM, was a percussionist. He played in salsa bands throughout his youth. So that was something that I gained an interest in, and I still do to this day, even though it's difficult at times because of fatigue and whatnot, but I push myself, and I've been able to do it, I guess, quite well. But overall, yes, I would say that, NM has affected me in that sense of just being self-conscious sometimes. When I'm around regular folks, even at work sometimes, when people go out for like a business lunch or whatever, and everybody's walking outside, you can't keep up with the rest of the group. And the people, for most of the time, they really can't tell that I have a condition because of my NM being so mild. So I was always self-conscious of that as well, like just even explaining my condition. It wasn't until recently that I've become more vocal and more open about explaining what my disease is. And now I just flat out, I just tell people right away as soon as they notice anything. I was like, hey, why do you want me to live? I noticed, before I say, oh, I have bad legs or whatever, and I really wouldn't get into too much details, but I found out that made my situation worse because then I became just more self-conscious when I just couldn't keep up with everyone else. And people was just kind of with what I really had. So now I just flat out, I tell people I have neuromuscular disease and it's called myopathy and so forth. And it's been a huge lift off of my shoulders by being able to be more open about my disease with others. But overall, another thing too is just another thing that has affected me, like other people not understanding my condition. People sometimes thinking that I'm just slacking, or even at work when I would take off time because of fatigue. And my supervisors would really give me reprimands, for or negative commentary in my reviews because I would work from home. I work in the IT industry, by the way. So that's always been a struggle. It's just dealing with the real world and people not understanding what your condition is or what it entails. And a lot of times people don't even want to take the time to really understand what your disease is, or, it's unfortunate. So, but it makes it even more important for one to be an advocate for oneself and one's condition and disease to help educate, others on that. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, how NM has affected me throughout my life. Sometimes it's tough too, because I have two boys and not being able to do the things that I wish I could do with them. They're healthy, thank God. But it's a lot of physical work that it takes with dealing with one's family and whatnot. So I try to do the best that I can, and I'm also grateful for the good things that I have, and the fact that I can still get around, without any assistance, which is good. So for that, I am grateful.
It's a matter of reading my life in reverse. I only be aware of, I guess, the more obvious symptoms. In my 40s, when I was, well, I guess I should start at the beginning. I guess nobody really noticed when I was a baby or a toddler that I had multiple symptoms that just, I guess, not to anything to anybody. Maybe because they were mild, maybe because some of them they thought, I think, were like a product of laziness. I was told by my mother that I was a late walker. I don't know how late I was a walker. I do remember falling all the time. And her always, like, I grew up in Brooklyn, so, we always crossing busy streets. She'd always, like, dragging me. I remember her dragging me up in the middle of the street. I could fall down in the middle of nothing. I had respiratory infections almost constantly. I averaged a good 30 days a year out of school, in elementary school into junior high, even a little bit less than high school. Posture problems. Could never stand up straight. I was always told stand up straight, but anytime I tried to stand up straight, it felt like I couldn't breathe fully. My limbs, like I could never run really, and like my ankles would pop on me, my knees bend all the way back. Just like a whole bunch of symptoms, I guess nobody could really put together because they didn't really seem like much. And then in my 40s, I was also seriously underweight, very underweight, like I'm 5'9", I couldn't get above 110 for years and years. Then in my 40s, started gaining weight, probably because I started to become more sedentary. I found myself having difficulties getting up out of the chair, climbing steps, started doing like a hand over hand thing, on a handrail. And this was about the time that we were living in a one-story home and we ended up heading the second floor. So I guess that turned out to be a little bit of an interesting dilemma that it caused. But I saw the same internist for 18 years and complained, kept telling him that I was having difficulty getting up out of a chair, difficulty climbing stairs, I was gaining weight, and basically I was told more than once that I was just lazy and deconditioned, and this was why. And it was just one incident that I think just, I had my aha moment, and I said, that's it, I need it, this doctor. And I ended up seeing, actually, my neighbor 2 doors down as a physician, and I never realized it. I had thought of neighbors as patients, but he does. And in 2 visits, he accomplished far more than anything that other doctor did. In 18 years, sent me in all the right directions to a fantastic neurologist, who then sent me on to the MDA clinic at Einstein Montefiore. And then genetic testing, which only in December, I found that it's the MEB gene RYR1. The lab that's the next gen sequencing, I don't know what that means exactly, I'm learning more as I'm here, but they said they had only come across one other case in 3 siblings, but there's no literature available on that. So the neuro that I see at Einstein Montefiore and my own want to write a paper on these, so I need to go through more stuff. But to me, it's finding out that I had something. It was like one of the best days of my life. That I felt vindicated. You feel like you have some kind of moral deficit of some sort. I'm told, oh, you're just lazy, you're just this, you're just that. That's what extreme fatigue. I take a medication. I don't know if anybody else here has heard of it, modafinil or Vigil, just to keep me awake when I need to during the day. I haven't had a sleep study in a while. I should have them again, because it could be CO2 levels that, and, that I should really, have that done. But it's like all these puzzle pieces. I blew out a meniscus in my sleep. This was years before I had the diagnosis, and I figured, it's heavy, you blew out your knee, and it turns out that my muscles didn't weaken because of the knee. The knee probably blew out because my muscles were weak, and it's my dominant leg. To me, it's just, feel at peace, knowing that I'm doing something, and I'm glad my kids are healthy. I was told to, that my parents tested, but I don't have parents anymore, so that won't be possible. But, yeah, I just, I feel tomorrow for it. I feel, that's a good thing. But, and it's been an interesting trajectory to say the least, but, I'm happy, I'm happy to be with everyone here. It's a little.
Thank you.
How I know has affected a lot of good things out of it. I think it made me a better person, just trying to help out other people with similar conditions and stuff like that. But pretty much all my life is basically, like you said, people not really noticing the disease that I have, just because I don't really show much besides I'm skinny and walk a little bit different. And I went through a hard time growing up with like infections and stuff like that, and intubations and all that. And then as I got older, my spine curved, and I developed cardiomyopathy also. So, but other than that, really, it's just like I want to be part of the community and start helping out people, because there's lots of questions unanswered, I find, for people. And I like sports and everything like that, but I wasn't able to do that kind of stuff. So I want to follow things, read and stuff like that about lots of different things. And it's all about being with your friends, I think, and never giving up on something that you want to do, really. Because sometimes people may tell you to do something that you shouldn't do, because I believe I can do whatever I want to do if I try. So basically, it's just managing yourself and knowing yourself, I think. I don't really else what to say.
Well, that's a good answer. So that was the first question, and we're halfway over it now. So we move on to the next. It's regarding insurance policies, and I don't know, this is more of a US question, less into Europe, but so I'm going to ask it, and whoever wants to answer it, feel free to do so, because it's regarding insurance policy and how things change after they no longer cover under parents' insurance. Going from you push out to your adulthood, I guess the insurance changed there.
Yeah, as you said, this is not a question I can answer. In Sweden, I get my equipment for free. We have, many people think we have high taxes, but it gives us a lot. I myself have 3 ventilators. We have 2 cup machines at home. I have 1, my daughter have 1. We have 5 wheelchairs together. Wilma also has ventilators. I have a car who's equipped for me and myself to drive. I don't pay for those things. So I don't need insurance for just because I have a disability. I need insurance like anyone else in Sweden, for my house, for my car, for traveling, but not because I'm disabled. So I can't really answer that question. So, but I just wanted to explain why I can't answer that question. Woo! I'm fast.
Well, in Spain, we also have all the same thing covered for free. But there's also, if you are really bad, you have anything you need in a minute. But what I say that the optional things that we have, that sometimes we don't relate it to NM, for example, all my ear problems or mental problems. Then if you wanna get checked quickly, then you have to go and private hospitals. I have to say that public hospitals are the best in Spain. Well, it's not the difference between private and public hospitals. Then what is very difficult is getting insurance to have all this other stuff covered because I have the disease. Then anything I would have, it was they would tell me, no, we're not paying this because you have this because of the disease. And this is really a nightmare because you have to pay. And thankful my parents can do it, but one day they won't be there, and this is something that really makes me worry. And also, when I bought my flat, for example, I need a life insurance, and they wouldn't cover me because it's easier that a 50 years old man would die the next day because of heart failure. They would cover him, but not him. That I'm not thinking about dying anytime soon. And this is quite hard because they decided to cover just if I die, but not if I have a disability caused, for example, by a car accident that wouldn't be related to the disease. And that only will ensure your death. And I told them, okay, I know for sure that I'm going to die, so you're covered. No. But we are very lucky in our sanitary system.
My experience dealing with health insurance companies it's a disaster. I truly hate it. There's very few things I hate. But when I have to deal with health insurance companies, it gives me it's insane. Last year I started making more appointments to get more serious about my condition. I went to see Dr. Bach. He recommended a ventilator. He said I didn't absolutely need it, but he said he did recommend it, especially as I get older. So I tried that out. That was after my insurance paid its part, I was being charged I think like $275 a month, which was, and then I just kept getting bills, and it was just a nightmare. And then I couldn't get them to take the machine back because they wanted authorization from the doctor, and they kept billing me even more. And then the machine, I tried it a few times, but it was just uncomfortable trying to put it on at night, and I just got really discouraged. So I got rid of it. So that was that. Another thing was I went to see a neuromuscular specialist at SUNY downstate in Brooklyn through MDA. And right away I got a bill for like over $500 because they say I saw the doctor within a clinic, and that wasn't covered if I saw a doctor within a clinic, which didn't make any sense to me. It's like he has to have a private office and then we're covered. So that was fighting back and forth and sending emails and making phone calls. I would literally spend an entire day at work, and I couldn't get any work done because I was fighting insurance companies and these clinics and so forth. Eventually I got the bill covered under a grant, but the amount of work that I had to put in just to get that covered was just ridiculous. And it was very discouraging, to tell you the truth. And then the amount of stress that you have to deal with, it's like you go to see a doctor to try to be better, but then you end up being affected by stress because of, the amount of money that has to be paid, and these insurance companies with their technicalities and so forth, where they really, try their hardest not to pay, for you. So that's been my overall experience dealing with health insurance companies. And I work in the IT industry, I have a job, I have coverage. It's just a lot of times they get into these technicalities and these nuances, and sometimes they don't do their job. The other day I got a bill because I took my son to the emergency room, and it was for like $1,200 because they just didn't submit the claim. This is on the hospital side. And then I called, right? I spent the day calling, trying to get that sorted out. And then several weeks later, I still get the bill. I call again, I speak to someone else, like, oh, they forgot to submit it. So it's this type of, it's a real pain, and it causes a lot of stress. And then with the pressure of having to work, right? I mean, these offices are open only during the work hours. So you have to spend time away from work trying to deal with getting all these things sorted out with the clinics and the doctors and the health insurance companies. So it's very discouraging, nevertheless, dealing with all of this, unfortunately, in this country, in the US.
Well, since I wasn't diagnosed until I was an adult, there was no issues with transitioning off my parents' insurance to my own, actually my husband's insurance. But in recent years, our coverage has gotten worse, just in time, for me to be diagnosed. You were mentioning the emergency room. I was in an emergency room about a month ago. Luckily, the bill was for over $13,000 staying overnight. It wasn't actually, I was admitted, but it was like an emergency cubicle. It was hard. But there was a 150 deductible. I couldn't believe it was worth 13,000. But the genetic testing was another story because we used to be very lucky. We had very small co-pays and 0 deductibles with the insurance. Over the years, it's increased. It's like $3,000 per person. So the only lab that was doing testing, I don't know if it's a New York State thing, was Athena Labs, and their testing fees were just astronomical. And for that part, doctors weren't sure there was a suspecting limb-girdle, and but then possibly, and I guess there's a genetic test for just congenital myopathies. I guess it casts like a wide net where a whole bunch are included under there, including NM. And the testing fees were just insane. And then I found out that if you get New York State Department of Health to approve you, and every institution only has like a certain number of lifetime approvals. And luckily, they had one at Einstein, Montefiore. You can get your blood sent out of state and be tested. So my blood I was tested at a lab in Wisconsin, and the price difference was like unbelievable. And luckily, the permissions came through just near the end of the year. So with seeing all the doctors I had to see, all that was left really was $450 to pay out of pocket. So I guess I lucked out time-wise, with that. I don't know what the future holds, like with equipment. We were discussing earlier that my doctor wanted me to do a sleep study where you take the machine home with you. The place that distributes the sleep, what is it called? Sleep study? The monitor. I have to go pick it up myself and return it as like an instruction booklet. Teaches me how to do. I'm like, it's ridiculous. How would they know if I'm mobile or not? Why would they should be delivering it? And then, that's what I told her. He's my advocate now. You're my advocate. So, what the future holds with stuff. Like with my roller, people say, oh, you should have gone on and checked it. And I'm just, boy. I have like chains throughout the house. Just, worry about the bigger stuff as it comes along. At this point, it would be more to probably have to pay, a deductible to get something that I could buy for less myself. So.
Well, I'm from Canada, so it's pretty much similar to Sweden. So we don't really have to pay for any equipment. I do have private insurance though for stuff that I don't really want to bother with the government. It would take too long. I got my wheelchair for private insurance because I wanted what I wanted. It won't give me exactly what I want. So my BiPAP and my cough assist and all that was all covered. Don't have to worry about paying for doctor's appointments or anything like that. It's a lot different. We pay a little bit higher taxes, but we get the benefits out of it. So I don't know. You guys seem to have a lot of problems with getting equipment and which equipment should I get because you're worried about what the insurance is going to cover, really. And we don't really have to worry about any of that in Canada. So I travel to other doctors, they pay for that also. I travel 3 hours away and they all pay for that all the time, so I don't have to worry about really much.
So there's some differences between the countries, for sure. But I'm jumping ahead because we're discussing the workplace a bit here, so I'm jumping to that question right away. What's your experience working and with your disability or affecting it, positive or negative or thoughts like that?
Okay, I'm a social worker from the beginning. I'm also a sex educator, and so before I had Roma, I was walking, so I didn't use the wheelchair at my job. I was walking the whole time. I've been working from part-time up to full-time, back to part-time when my woman was born. Due to her, she also has Anna, so she wasn't able to be a leader so long. But when I came back after maternity leave, once again moved to Sweden, I stayed for years and got paid. Then I was in the wheelchair when I came back. And in Sweden, they had to make my workplace accessible. So they made a special car place for me where I could place my car at the office. They put the door openers where there weren't any door openers. And the thing is that I was a social worker. My specialty is in autism. So I go around in the county where I work and teachers, principals and teachers about social stuff for people with autism. Therefore, I travel in my work every day. So I go to around 20 schools, and all the schools had put in door openers. And that's quite a lot of money. But they did. And for me, I realized quite early, if I'm going to get somewhere in life, when it's about job, I need to be the best of what I'm doing. And I think people must have, no, really, I sound like a pessimist or anything. Yeah, I sound very harsh when I say this, but it's real. I had to compete with others who has the same education as I, and I always have to be better than them. So I won't be seen as a problem. I will be seen as an asset, even though I'm in a wheelchair. And there were principals that had been waiting for me for 2 years to come back. And they were fighting for me to take their school first. And for me, that was really, I didn't know that I was actually good at my job until I came back from maternity leave. And that was a really great thing that, yeah, maybe I'm good at this actually. So education is the key point when you have a disability. And I also had, my mom has MMT. We have 3 girls, 3 generational girls. And I saw her been working. And therefore I didn't see it for me getting a job as a problem. So you just have to be the best of what you do.
Well, I started working while I was finishing my university degree in my dad's company, and I was there for 5 years. They gave me all the facilities like a good schedule and everything. And then I became a civil servant from the Barcelona regional government. Then because in Spain, in the public jobs, they have to have like a minimum of disabled people. So it's really open in very difficult, and I've been working there for 8 years. the only thing that I never had really affected me is that I had the chance to go to work in Barcelona. I was not working in Barcelona, I worked in a small town, and they have offered me twice a job in Barcelona, and I had to hesitate because it would be really hard for me to go every day, an hour and a half, go an hour and a half, go back home. So I had to say no. And for me, it was easy because it was like the people who offered me the job apologized to me to put me through this situation, and I said no. For me, it's such an honor to be proposed for this job. I wanted to be really sincere because they had said yes, and after 6 months I couldn't follow the rhythm. It would be a problem for them, but also for me, and a frustration and everything. So this is where my really has affected me. Then in this government, they have special rules to get in if you are disabled, but so now we are studying like uh, some collective rules that we should have flexible schedules like people with children have. It's funny that they have this special rules that we don't have. And I always say that you know who you were hiding and you're hiding it. So we are fighting for it.
As I mentioned earlier, there were a good amount of occasions where I literally had to like fight my boss at particularly my last job, which I was there for 5 years, because I would always be viewed under a level of suspicion when I would request to work from home because there was a snowstorm outside and there was too much snow and ice, and you know, I was always afraid that I could have a very bad fall, which I've had in the past, which I grew up in the Midwest in Cleveland, Ohio, which is prone for lake effect snow and blizzards. You know, there were times when I would be working from home and then my boss would start questioning my work and sending me emails in a very negative tone, and sometimes I would get, you know, mid-year reviews or even yearly reviews that were somewhat negative. And so those things were very stressful, and my wife knows very well the amount of stress that I dealt with that. And this is with them knowing that I had a disability and a condition. And I had to pretty much, you know, let them know, it's like, this is what I have, this is how it affects me. But it's unfortunate that it took me many occasions of having to explain myself in order for people to at least give me some sort of accommodation in my work. And you know, it's interesting too, because in my line of work, you can do pretty much all of it from home. And then I know of other people in my job, for instance, who had no disability, who would work remotely from home just simply because their commute was long. So a lot of times I feel that just don't have that empathy towards the people with disabilities. And it's unfortunate. And even, you know, I've seen it with other people. My wife, for instance, was pregnant and her job refused to give her accommodations when she was already giving near her term. And so it's unfortunate. Don't consider your situation. And in my case, I've had to struggle in that area. So I have got a new job earlier this year, and it so far seems okay. They haven't given much trouble. We'll see once the winter time comes and see how that pans out.
I was a stay-at-home mom since shortly after my first child was born. I worked in of public relations at one of the city university colleges in New York. I think had I stayed there, probably wouldn't have been any issue because it was a desk job and they were accommodating. And of course, in college, they had all sorts of accessible, there were ramps everywhere, elevators everywhere. But I had the opportunity to stay home and it made sense at the time and I did. And then, this was before I was diagnosed, my daughter got into the private college of her dreams. And I told my husband, that I wanted her. And I said, so I'll get a part-time job, do something, to help out. And of course, at that point, the nature of writing has changed. I've done content writing, for clearly Amazon, but it's all brokered. And so by the time you're done, making sure every T is crossed and every I is dotted on a 350-word piece, you're averaging no jokes, like $2 and change an hour sometimes, which wasn't worth it, wasn't productive. I got a job at a local, I live in a great, I actually have a hardware store that's 100 beauty. Owned by the same family for 100 years, and every year is a wonderful family, and to work for you, and they hired me. And of course, being a hardware store and going through with hardware, so the entire upstairs. It was like a football practically. And I was having, I was wrong, but I didn't know what was wrong with me yet. But the walking around all day was killing me. My muscles were just screaming by the end of the day. And I stayed there for a little over a year and I left. And just yesterday I went back to work as a co-manager of a thrift store in town and trying to get it, organized and everything. Wouldn't you know I spent 8 hours on my feet today? I went to bed with every muscle, like you get jugular, and they made me jolt. And then I had spasms. But I had to knock myself out so that I could sleep. Get up this morning, drive here. The stage of the game, the only thing that's going to be helping me is retail. And also I couldn't even go, even if I could get, I can't get public transportation anymore. There's just no way. My husband said, well, there are elevators all over Penn Station and all over the subway. And I'm thinking, please, I always feel like I have to excuse them. I'm on steps and people are people behind you and all and everything. I don't have the stamina for it. I don't have, so I'm just doing what I could do. But retrospective, had I known back then what was wrong with me, I never would have left that job because that pension, it would have been really good. But, and what can you do? It is what it is, and I'm only working probably 20 hours a week. I think I can live with that.
Good, thank you. There's a couple of minutes left, so I thought if there's any question from the audience here, we're happy to ask it. We have some other questions which we didn't have time to go through, but if there's any questions out here, we should take, or I don't know.
Thanks. I have a question for those who have a child and also have NM. When you had your child, if they do not have NM, is there a chance that if your child does have children, do your grandchildren have NM? Does anyone know about that?
Yeah, there's some chance.
There's a chance?
Yeah.
Because you can forward the gene, but it doesn't have to develop NM. Myself, my mom has NM, but I have a 7-year-old older brother who don't have NM. And when his children was born, Marcus was there with us from Sweden. And when Marcus and his big brother Alexander was born, my brother tested himself if he actually had a gene, but he didn't, because there's a 50-50 chance. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Then we can, I would like to finish up with one last question. We have a couple of minutes, and it's regarding independence, sense of independence, and how it affects your independence. In that way, it's in some of you, or sometimes you need the aid or nursing and stuff like that, or assistance, and how that's affecting you. So that's the short answer to that.
Independent, I don't really need any help in the house, although it's always nice to have somebody else cleaning it. I have to admit, it's a perk. But I think if I find like a hotel with leather grab bars, getting into and out of tubs, but my shower and my room, I can just walk in. Generally, yeah, it hasn't become an issue. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's any like event that I've had to go to for my kids, like at school, in the stadium seating, and have to walk up. I can't do it. I can't. So I sit in the I try to get a seat at the ground room. So, yeah, I can't do it.
So you choose, or you have to choose what to do instead of.
Yeah, I have to plan ahead, get somewhere earlier so I can get the seating that I would need. I went to the theater last week with my husband. It was a small theater in East Village. He chose. His teacher just came in the first row, and so it was the second one, and I couldn't pass the people had to get out, and I'm like, one hand over, to get over the chairs and everything. I hold on to him, he forgets that I can't walk. I don't know why. I guess because he works like all the time and forgets that I can't walk as fast as he can. But I would say though, in terms of taking care of my own personal needs, it's not an issue yet. And also, I'm kind of aging along with it. So I think if anything, like maybe I wouldn't have been, let's say, in a wheelchair at a certain age. I probably will be, but it's hardly tragic considering how old I am
now. For me right now, I do start to think of vertical spaces, like how many steps I have to climb, or railing that I can hold on to, or those are just certain things that if I'm making plans to do anything, I just have to be strategic about it and just do a little bit of extra research, just so that I know that I can get around better. So that in that aspect it affects my independence. Another thing too, now I live in an apartment with my family, and we've been thinking about purchasing a home. And right away, I think about all the things that entails, like mowing the lawn and doing just handiwork. Like these are a lot of things that I would probably have to outsource, because I just don't have the capacity to do these things on my own. So I'm actually kind of afraid to make that leap or take that step forward because of that, because I'm just afraid that I won't be able to do the things that are necessary just to upkeep. So things like that I think about in general, and it affects me in that manner.
Well, my business is very similar to yours. My normal life, I can manage it. But then when I want to go somewhere, I have to really think about it, the stairs. For example, public transport is a nightmare. All the bus drivers from my town know me because they always have to help me, but they are very nice, so they always help me. And my day, for example, now that I live on my own and I have to do housekeeper stuff, squeezing the map and all these things, carry open and open a bottle. Then you find your own tricks, so you manage. And well, maybe because I have many friends and my family around me, and they know how to help me, and sometimes help me doesn't mean to do things for you. It's be there Let me try if I can. If I can, perfect. And if I don't, they'll tell me no. But every time they waste their time to see if I can or not, they are really unusual. And this is, I think that this is very important for children and for adults. We have to try to do things on our own. Be careful not to jump stairs or something, but because then they need confidence and you see that you can do more and more things by yourself. And I think that this is very important for us.
I'm quite dependent on people. For me, independence is more about deciding for my own life than doing things on my own. To be empowered of deciding things how I want. That's for me independence. I belong to a group in Sweden that are an independent living group. I get my personal assistance from it. I get help in my home with daily care so I can manage to be a mom and go to work and so on. So, I mean, making the bed, I don't do that myself. If Axel is away from work, come home and so on, I can still be a very good mom and take care of my daughter, but I do it with help, but in my way. So I have people coming home to my home and helping me, but they don't do it the way they want to do it. They do it the way I tell them how to do it. So for me, independence is up here, not in my arms and in my legs. And this has been the whole life because I always needed help with whatever I did. So I actually don't care if I can't make my bed. I feel independent when someone else doing it the way I wish I would have done it myself. That's independence for me. So I feel independent even though I really need help with everything.
Good. Thank you very much. That was all the time for this health panel. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing, and a round of applause. Next up is MT panels. We will assemble this one away and get started with the team panel. It's Lucinda, Justin Solers, Rachel Ross. So we'll assemble that now.
we have a list of the Oh, okay. So then that should make it, and then it'll. So we'll start with the others introducing. Patty, have you seen Rachel Gross? Say again? Started just in a couple minutes here. Your James. Where do you live? Oh, you do. Our friend, have you been to me? You're good friends. My name is Little Mary, but somewhere around. We live in New York City. So good weekend. Oh, okay, perfect. So Rachel will come here. Okay, perfect. Are you good? Does that work for you? Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lynn Byer. My daughter's Greta. She's 8 years old, and she's running around here somewhere. We're from New York City. I'm going to be moderating the team panel today. And what we'll start by doing is having our panelists introduce themselves. And a little bit of who they are and where they're from and all that good stuff. And then we will move on to some of the questions that came in through social media, and we certainly open that. We have about until 2:30 for this particular panel. So Lisa, did you want to start with me?
Okay, so I'm Lisa. I'm 18. I have MM, obviously. I'm from Wisconsin, United States. I'm here with my mom, my husband, and my grandpa.
Hi, my name is James. I'm from here with my mother and my father today, as well as my brother. And there's also my people and
Rachel, she's 20 years old. She goes to Howard University.
I'm Andrea Patrick, and I'm from Maine.
I'm Andrea
Patrick is on mentor, Ohio.
Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. So, the first question is, could you talk a little bit about what you found the most challenging in school? Accommodations have made for you to make school more accessible, those sorts of things?
There's some reverb, I don't know.
That's perfect.
The hardest part for me in school was gym class, especially in elementary school and middle school. I had a lot of problems with gym class. Not until middle school we had to do track. Track was always a big problem for me. It wasn't really a strength issue. It was always just endurance for me. I always had a problem keeping up with other kids in my class. I would always be dead last or somewhere near there. Now I don't have as much of a problem, but the stamina is still a huge issue for me on all levels.
So obviously stamina and strength. I was never able to keep up in like sports or gym, and because of this, I had a special gym class through high school and kind of in middle school that was designed just for me, since I was the only one that had the certain limitations. And that worked out really well for me. And then in high school, I actually did online schooling. So I was able to do everything and keep all of my classes from home, which made my life a lot easier.
Rachel? Grade school wasn't really a problem for her because she went to a school for the physically challenged. But when she started college, she definitely felt the difference. She thought the hardest part was keeping up with the hard work because the fatigue was so happening.
The hardest part in school is keeping up with the schoolwork and school elevator.
The small elevator, that would be absolutely. Could you all talk a little bit about how you manage your daily health, some sort of the routine that you use to keep yourself healthy?
Recently, just within a few years ago, I wouldn't say fed up, but I was getting kind of tired of being last and always being slow. And I try to go there to maintain my shape, and it works out really well. But there are some things that are really difficult to change with the fatigue part. I enjoy swimming. I do enjoy running, but I'm just really bad at them because I can't do them very long.
Do you use any respiratory assistance?
No.
Okay.
I used to though.
You used to? Okay.
Yeah, I had a lot of symptoms, not too many, but I used to trip over myself a lot more. I drew until in elementary school. I'll talk about this later, actually.
Okay. So I used a number of different therapies throughout my life. I used suctioning and sick. I also studied vitamins to keep my health. I also keep an amino acid cleansing, which helps me, it gives me more energy. I don't have to take naps throughout the day.
Do Do you use respiratory assistance?
I don't right now. I have tried the BiPAP, but I wasn't using it consistently, so we ended up not keeping it.
Okay. Thank you.
Rachel?
Oh, is that on it?
She has a basic morning routine, and she thinks what helps her most is the cough assist.
Love that cough machine.
Andrew, are you ready?
I'm wheelchair 2, cough assist, and being on a lot of medication.
Thank you. Since you are all in transition, can you talk a little bit about what are some of the ways that you work to become more into independence? So you
Elementary school, I kind of did with that and stay cool. But now I chose something and maybe what I'm good at. It goes along to me, relying on others to make decisions for me.
Starting, so I started college. I have 18 in online classes now. But I got a course that helps me with as I get by myself. I do to scooter to get around my class. I realized but they're not very strong. I have to be careful when driving. There was some accommodations that we've made to make it so that I'm able to drive on my own. Even though I don't like it.
understand neuromyopathy? What are some of the ways that you explain it?
Well, when I first explained this to my peers, they didn't believe that I had I just describe it to them as, instead of them, I just describe to them as being very fatigued after you do a certain amount of physical activity. If I run 1 lap around a track, I'm just tired as someone who ran 4. And that's the only way I can probably explain it to my friends.
Thank you.
It depends for me on the closeness of the person that I'm explaining it to. So for just like general classroom peers, I would specifically tell them that my muscles are not as strong as the average person, and there are some things that I simply can't do. And if it was a person that I knew more intimately, then I would try to explain a little bit of the mechanics behind Neverland.
Rachel's still typing. Andrew, are you ready or are you still typing? You ready?
I explain it as where the same got gets stronger over the years.
Any follow-up questions to anything that anyone said thus far? You ready? Okay, fantastic.
She says, I think my situation is pretty self-explanatory. I like to explain to people that I can do whatever I want, just like you, but I might have to do it differently.
It's a great explanation, absolutely. So how can we as parents or friends help you navigate? Oh, wait. How can your parents or other people help you navigate school? Where should they help? Where should we let you take the lead? What are some of your thoughts on that? How much parents should be involved in what's happening in your world?
Well, in my case, my parents leave most of the work to me, almost all the work actually. When I select, I pick up most of the time, like room cleaning, sometimes I don't get around to that, schoolwork. Other than that, they are supportive over most of, if not all of what I do.
My mom has been extremely supportive of me. She's helped me through every stage. She's been a huge advocate for me, for advocating to doctors and in school. I think she's done a really awesome job. It probably depends on the severity of your particular MM to determine how much help you need. And my mom has done a pretty good job. When I was younger, I was not as well as I am now, and I needed a lot more help with things. But she's started to back off now that I'm older and I'm taking on more responsibility, and I think that's a good thing. Was there another question?
Where to help, where not to help. So that's a pretty good answer. Yeah. Andrea or Rachel, whoever. Andrea, ready? All right, go ahead.
how supportive toward me. My mom does everything for me and does an awesome job taking care of me.
Yay. Thank you.
Rachel says, whatever you would do and would not do for a typical child, you should do the same with us. I do think that it's good for us to figure things out on our own.
Absolutely. And it seems like as all of you have gotten older, that's become more and more important to you. So it's wonderful to hear you talk a little bit about that, how we can be a good support, right? And also kind of stay back on the sidelines when we need to, right? So we're gonna open this up to just general questions. If anyone has general questions of the panel, we probably have about 5 minutes and then there's a little break until 2:45, the next section. I actually have to take Greta down to the longitudinal study, so Michelle Perchi's gonna step in and just facilitate any last questions. And thank you so much to our panelists.
I have a question. Sure. I'm curious as to what your favorite childhood memories are.
Favorite childhood memories?
Probably, I'm sorry about that. I have a friend who lives up the road. I used to always go to his house and play with him. He never knew I had him until just a few years ago. But we used to play all the time, and I was always a little bit slower than he was. And I don't know, it's for 13 years now. Just, yeah.
I have tons of awesome memories. We go up to Minnesota pretty much every summer since I can remember to visit family that lives up there. And some of my best memories are there. They have a lake house up there, and it's really cool. It's actually my grandfather's and my grandpa's here. And I spent many hours playing with my cousin Allie, which is also here. So those are some awesome memories. And swimming at the lake is always really fun. And it was also a great workout for me, one that wasn't too tiring because it was in the water. And I have always been able to move better in the water. Yeah.
Thank you.
All of my cats, and I wouldn't miss them for anything.
All right, Rachel says that this question is harder than it sounds, and that she thinks that just spending time with family and friends are the best memories for her.
Great, excellent, thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
At what age did you guys start like having a say in therapies, like physical therapy or speech or whatever therapies you've been in? Did you start like having some control instead of your parents just telling you what you needed to do?
I don't think I ever had a say in going to physical therapy. I did go to physical therapy until I was 13. I'm asking you, Mom. About that age, yeah. The only time I actually did enjoy going there is when I got to swim in the pool. Pool was my favorite thing.
Well, I probably started voicing my opinion around, I want to say probably 12. But I mean, even before then, my mom was always very thoughtful, I guess, in considering what I wanted to, and of course she was always very careful to consider what I could handle and what I felt comfortable doing. And so it really, I never really felt like she forced me to do anything.
Thank you. Andrea?
Interview was 12.13.
Rachel has always had somewhat of a say, but over the past 2 years, she's really gained a lot of control over that kind of stuff.
Thank you. Great, does anybody have more questions for the panel? Okay. At this time, we'll take a short break, and I believe it's going to be Dr. Morris speaking next. Thank you.
But Jack, back it up.
Yeah, it's comfy. This is great. A video.
I think we should, yeah. Thank you.
Just stop it or just
Yeah, I think so.
Let's wait.
Thank you.
Let's go.